Happy Friday, everybody. Good evening. Welcome, welcome. How's everybody doing? Happy Veterans Day to all you veterans out there. Thank you so much for everything. Hope there's some of you out there. What's up? We got Oscar. How's it going? Happy Friday. Jeff Steen, happy Friday back at you. Rusty, as always, Jersey Red. What's up? Thanks for holding it down on the comments section. Steve in New Hampshire, what's up? Welcome, welcome. TC's in the house. Terry, welcome. Good to see you. Danny, good to see you. Russ, what's going on? Scott, hello, hello. Love it, Arthur. Thanks so much. Absolutely. American veterans. What's up? We got Scott Boyce. What's going on? Kathleen in Texas. Welcome. Ryan, what's going on? Thanks so much. Yeah, Friday's going great. Hope same for you. Back at you. Kenneth, how's it going? Welcome, welcome. If any of you are joining for the first time, there are tabs that we go through every Friday at this time. So there's a tab, link to a PDF with the tabs for what we're going to go through tonight. Expand the description below the video here on YouTube. And there's a link to a PDF. And tonight we're doing acoustic finger picking. And don't be scared off if all you have is an electric, because you can, while it's probably ideal to have the acoustic for this particular lesson, you can still work on this stuff on the electric. Okay, so please don't get scared off if that's all you've got access to. Elias, what's up? Happy Friday, back at you. Fatih, hello. And Gerald from Georgia, happy Veterans Day. Absolutely. All right. Dennis, what's going on? Nikki the dog is here. Good to see you, my friend. Rui, what's up? Zane, what's going on? Welcome, everybody. Laura Langford, what's up? Good to see you. Jason, there you go. Yes, we have the pesky time change here in the US. So if you're elsewhere in the world, it is happening at a different hour, I guess, for you. So apologies for that, but I'm glad you made it. All right, so as we do every Friday this time, we alternate each week between acoustic and electric. Although you can transfer all of these skills and practice all of these skills on either instrument. This one's a little more specific because we're just going to go through finger picking, okay? No pick tonight. And are going to work on just getting the fingers moving, right? Jake99, what's up? Elias is saying he likes Blackbird on guitar tricks for a good finger picking song workout. Absolutely, 100%. Totally agree with that. Check it out. Rad Flying V, what's up? Good to have you here. All right, so once again, for those of you just joining, expand the description below the video. There's a link to the tabs for what we're going to go through tonight. Dave's in Cleveland, what's up? Good to see you. All right. So let's warm it up a little bit. I like to, take it pretty straightforward at first and just get some fingers moving, okay? And just generally speaking, I'm resting on sort of the upper bout of the guitar, sort of in the corner and coming down diagonally. Okay, so I'm resting my, sort of the upper part of the forearm towards the elbow, wherever it's comfortable to kind of just have those hands come down. Somewhere, sort of in the middle section between the edge of the fretboard and the bridge, right? Somewhere in here. Okay. Now, of course, you can experiment, particularly with the fingers for finger placement as you finger pick. If you get closer to the fretboard, the fingerboard, you're going to get a warmer sort of more low-end sound. If you get closer to the bridge, you're going to get a more high-end sound. But for right now, just somewhere in the middle is probably a good place to just kind of park it, get used to it before you start experimenting with that. But of course, as always, I always recommend experimenting. For those of you not familiar with the tabs that I give each and every week, They're meant to inspire experimentation, inspire you to sort of practice and work on some things, and hopefully be exposed to maybe some things you haven't worked on or even have seen at all. But I encourage you to not just stop at the end of the example. Try to make up your own examples using the same sort of ideas, same sort of approaches, okay? This is where you can kind of turn one example into 5 or 6 or 10 even examples, okay? So have fun with it and experiment with it all, right? All right, King 50, North Nevada, I love it. Good to see you, all right. Gonna take the warm-up, exercise 1, and just going pretty straightforward, a set of 3 string sets at a time. So we're going to start with the upper note. So I'm actually starting with an E power chord. So that's going to be the 2nd fret of the D string, 2nd fret of the A string. And then the root is the open low string. And we're going to sort of take that idea and go through each of the open power chords all the way up to the G power chord, the top 3 strings. But we're going to start with the D, A, and low E string. I've got the middle finger assigned to the D string, index finger assigned to the A string, and the thumb is the lowest note. Okay, so we're going to get into a little bit of a flow, right? So you can see the upper rhythms in the staff, okay? You see the 8th notes, right? There's a group of 3 notes tied together on the top with a single stem that tells you 8th notes. And then there's a 3 above it. So what that's telling you is that we've got 3 eighth note triplets for each quarter note. And a quarter note is your count, right? So if we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, we're going to have triplet, 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 right? So I know we're only doing the first 2 beats of this warm-up on the chord before we change the chord on the E chord, right? Okay. All right. Ruby says, yeah, the GP Guitar Profiles help even if you're not taking on those experiments. Or maybe they do. Yeah, right. They will help if you kind of move stuff around a little bit. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Guitar Pro is a software you can get, and I make that available with my tab. And it can actually play through the tab so that you can kind of hear the examples. I always try to play through the example on the actual video here so that you at least have a reference of what it's supposed to sound like. And you can always check back as you're working on this stuff, right? But Guitar Pro makes that convenient. You can kind of hear it, adjust the tempo, do all sorts of cool things with that, right? So back to, now notice I'm, got my fingers, floating here. I know we talk about this every time that we're sort of get on the acoustic with our fingers. Some people like to use the pinky to anchor themselves down here. I find it a little bit difficult to do that with the lower strings, right? What I find I do most of the time is just float with this. And, a big sort of tip is just to try and relax it as much as you can. If you're tensed up, that's never good for solid timing and a nice relaxed groove, right? So we want to have that arm nice and fluid and relaxed, right? So not really digging in too hard with the plucks, right? Somewhere in the middle, nothing too soft, but nothing too aggressive, just somewhere in the, just medium is always good to just start off with, right? And then you can play with the dynamics as you go. Jim Gregory, what's up? Welcome. Glad you made it. Okay. And, try to minimize your finger movement. You don't have to make a lot of movement to, strike those strings, nicely and consistently. Okay. So you can see halfway through that first bar, I'm going to move that shape up to the A power chord. That's going to be the open A string, 2nd fret of the D and G string. So, and I've still got the same, really straight ahead picking pattern, right? 3-2 thumb, 3-2 thumb, like that. Or I should say 2-1 thumb, 2-1 thumb is the way it's notated on there. And I will say as a caveat, these are just suggested fingerings based on sort of what I'm going to do with the warm-up. and everything. But once we start getting into some musical examples, it's sort of, there are no rules. You can kind of just go with whatever fingerings, finger picking fingers to what strings feels the most natural to you. Okay. We don't have to be locked into exactly how I notate which fingers to use. It's just a guide. It's just a suggestion. If you have a better one, go for it. Okay. Everybody's a little bit different in how they feel things naturally, right? So that's our first bar. Okay. So we've got 2 sets of 3 on the low power chord. Then we're going to move it up to A. Okay, then we're going to move it up to D. So now I've got the 3rd fret of the B, 2nd fret of the G, open D string, same fingers. So great exercise to just move through the string sets. And we're going to finally bar down to the 3rd fret of the top 2 strings, or you can fret both of those 2 fingers, open G string. Okay, so put that together. Just getting it going, a nice little warm up running through the string sets. Okay, and of course I'm going to want to come back down. What's up, GK? Welcome. Glad that you made it back. Now we're going to grab the upper part of the F chord. So now I am barring down 1st fret of the top 2 strings, 2nd fret of the G string. Okay, same finger picking pattern on the top 3 strings. Moving to a C chord. Right, you can fret the whole chord, even though we're not going to strike the A string at this point. But you've got the 1st fret of the B string, open G string, 2nd fret of the D string. Okay, and then we're going to end off with open, 2nd fret of the A. So open G, open D, and then do a final little brush stroke there. You see that? What I'll do is just rake sort of that chord nicely with the thumb, okay, to kind of end off. So going through this whole example, it sounds like this. Okay. Should warm it up nicely. Again, we're sort of floating, once again, I'm not going to dissuade you from, if you're comfortable with, planting that pinky, which a lot of people do. Okay. But certainly the case can be made that you just kind of float this arm on a swivel, kind of up and down, whatever strings you need to do. Right. Okay. Steve, what's up? Glad you made it. Hope it was a good little snooze. All right. Excellent. Exercise 1B, same idea now, but we're going to get another finger involved. We're going to get the ring finger involved as well. So we're going to start on an A minor 7, open A string, 2nd fret of the D, open G string, 1st fret of the B string, and just worry about the A, D, G, and B strings, each one starting with the thumb, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd finger. Right? So now if you want to just stay on that chord and just, sort of get into the flow of it, that's always a recommended move here before we start getting into the chord changes. So if you want to throw on a metronome, all the better, but at least try to make it your timing nice and smooth. Okay. So what do we got? So we're gonna keep that index finger planted on the 1st fret of the B string, and we're gonna change now. We're gonna move the 2nd fret of the D to the 2nd fret of the A. And you end up with sort of a sus on a G chord a little bit. So sort of a transitionary chord ending up on the C chord, which is in the 2nd bar, right? So those first 2 bars. It's a very simple climb, very typical kind of thing to do, is bring that bass note up to the C. Peter, what's up? Good to see you. Welcome, welcome. alt here. So for those of you that are a little more advanced, right, and want to add in some, just embellish just a little bit into these kind of frameworks, think about hammer-ons and pull-offs. So, a classic move here is going from the A minor 7 and then doing a quick hammer-on to that second fret of the A string. And when you speed it up, it sounds really, okay? That kind of idea, just a little, something to, think about a little bit, just to jazz it up a little bit, not just to spice it up a little bit. We'll put it that way. Russ, string gauge, light or medium light. I'm guessing personal preference ultimately, but wondering what am I using? On here, I use 11 through 52 on the acoustic for standard tuning, which is sort of like a light. I feel like that's a light gauge. Just feels the most comfortable to me. In the past, I've gone a little heavier than that, and I feel like I like it better, just a little bit lighter. And it allows you to kind of stretch out a little bit if you want. If you want to start doing some bending and kind of lead guitar on an acoustic, it's not as much of a chore if you've got light gauge strings. So maybe that's the reason. I don't know. I've been doing that for a long time. I can't even remember the last time I had different gauges on the acoustic. So once again, your mileage may vary. Scott's got a good question here. When do you use a nylon string guitar? It's simply a musical choice. I mean, it's got a very different sound to it. In fact, I do have one. I should bring it down for the next fingerpicking workshop in 4 weeks from now. Maybe I'll do that. And so you can kind of be exposed to it. It's just a complete, a different timbre, a different sound. And so it becomes a musical choice as to what you want for an overall sound. It's a little more challenging to play, generally speaking, because you've got a bigger neck, okay? And maybe a little bit of a flatter radius, I think, more of a classical kind of guitar. But it definitely has a sound on its own. So it's just strictly, I feel like it's more of just a musical choice. I mean, I'm not sure when there are things that, there's not really any rules as to whether to use one or not. Willie made a career out of playing it. He plays country. So it's just like the sound, I guess, and played the crap out of it, right? So there you go. Scott's using one. So good. Arthur's got one as well. Can you strum a nylon string with a pick? Absolutely. Yes. And again, it gives you sort of a different sound and a different kind of thing. But absolutely, you can pick a nylon string with, pick or fingers, whichever you like. Gives you all sorts of different, sound options. So there you go. Hopefully that helps a little bit. All right, so I've got those first two bars. Okay. Again, we just want to try and keep that nice and even, right? All the fingers kind of at the same volume. And nice steady timing, steady groove with that. And then we're going to move up to a D sus2. So we're going to move the same finger picking pattern up to a higher string set, okay? So now I've got the open D string, second fret of the G, third fret of the B, and then the open high E string gives me a D sus2. And then once again, with the index finger, moving to the second fret of the D string. Okay? And then moving to the third fret of the D string. So some interesting chords here. A little bit extended chord of sound on those chords, but I think it sounds pretty cool, right? Just basically sort of playing with shapes and seeing how they sound. So let's put this whole warm up together. It sounds like this. Okay. So once again, some things to maybe think about. Move some shapes up and down and combining those open strings, right? Like there's lots of things you can do, like take a C chord. You can move that C chord up 2 frets and get that sort of D major sus sound. Move it up another 3 frets. Get lots of different sounds just moving shapes around. So same thing here. All that kind of stuff. All right. So don't end it here just by playing it. Get it to a point where you feel like, you kind of feel good about it, and then just experiment with it. Try to take it somewhere else. Robin says dynamics. Absolutely. So that's another thing you can do is play with the dynamics, right? Like, I haven't put any dynamics markings in, a lot of these tabs that I bring out. Don't really do any, suggested dynamics or anything, but that's something that you can play with, right? Like you can start take 2 bars and see if you can start at a low dynamic and end up at a higher dynamic at the end of the 2 bars, and just try to fade that in. Okay. Working on that kind of thing is, it's fun, and it's a great thing to be able to have satisfied yourself that you can do that kind of thing, right? Because sometimes the music requires you to pick softer and pick harder. Right. Rui says, same for flesh or nails, either real or fake. Absolutely. So again, these are different sounds, right? Like there's a lot of finger pickers out there that use finger picks on their fingers or use the longer nails for a different sound. Again, it's all just different sounds, different timbres on it. All right, Terry. Yes, TC. I do as well. It's fun to play around with these shapes and get all these extensions going. And a lot of times when they're sus sounding, they sound really, really cool. We made it to exercise 2. Okay. Well, I think a song that, sort of everybody can recognize a little bit. So we're going to up the difficulty just a little bit on this example with some combined strings at the same time, and also moving the thumb a little bit. So the first thing is that I'm going to do sort of the 2 lower notes of the chord are going to be with the thumb, and then, first finger on and second finger on the higher strings. All right, let's look. Nikki's got a question about the chords. 1A, we've got a D5. Okay, and that's because look at the notes in the chord of 1A. Okay, it's just the root, 5th, root, higher octave root. Okay, but then in 1B, I'm adding a note. Yes, the high E note. Okay, so we don't in that first exercise, 1A, I don't have an E note in that chord. It's just D, A, D. Okay, root 5th, and then a higher root. When I add the E note, okay, that makes it a sus2 because I don't have a major 3rd in the chord. So it's not a D major, D sus. Okay, and in this case, it's the 2 because it's D is 1. You go up the D major scale. The second note, the 2 is E. So that's where we get that sus2. Good. All right, so let me play through exercise 2, and then we'll talk about it. Once again, sort of just upping the ante a little bit with the approach here. So let me go slower. Aha, I knew I'd mess it up. Tough chord there. I'm going to get it. I'm going to do it one more time. I'm going to get it. Should recognize that one. An old classic, classical classic. Okay, so we're starting on a D chord, and you know, hitting thumb and the middle finger at the same time, the outside notes of the chord, and then just dragging it up. These are straight eighth notes, right? So, and then I'm also bringing the thumb up to the G string, first finger, second finger. So to get used to that finger picking pattern, start on the D chord, right? Because you're going to change string sets. Tricky part of the A chord is that you're doing the A string on the thumb and the high E string as the high pluck at the same time. But now you're picking with the thumb D string and then first string G, middle finger B string, right? So it's sort of changing around the strings that you're hitting on this one. Okay, but you're going to kind of stay now on the A string through the B string, get the B minor chord, then F sharp minor. Okay, so you know your thumb's sort of following the root here on different strings. So okay. TC, canon in D, what music technique does that refer to? Good question. It's just the name of this particular melody. I don't even remember the, you know, I'm remiss to even know who came up with it. Either Mozart or Bach, I think. I'm not sure exactly what the music technique, if it refers to anything other than just a compositional type of thing, because there are different canons, right? Pachelbel's canon. There you go. You guys know more than me. TSO. I love that. Trans-Siberian Orchestra. Love it. Cool. All right. So going from that B minor to the F sharp minor. It is older than Bach. Okay, that's cool. I did not know that. I'm learning something. Okay. Great chord change to work on that second bar. Okay. Into the third bar, just sort of a lot of open strings here with just the low G note for the G chord. All right, and then this D chord here. That's the only tricky part, which obviously I stumbled over a couple times, but really just grabbing a D triad right here. That's a little bit of a tough grab because you're grabbing the 5th fret of the A, 4th fret of the D, 2nd fret of the G. And so it's just 3 strings here. So you're hitting the outside strings and then you're picking after that. So it's a double thumb on the same string. Okay, so. And the reason why I don't go back up to a high D chord is that there's a melody flowing through this thing, right? Okay, that's the reason, is that high melody note. I want to capture that note, but we go to a D chord, right? But I want that note to be the feature note. If I kind of go back up here, it's not going to preserve that melody, right? So right? Yeah, I sort of I apologize. I'll put a version 2 up after this stream because it seems that I forgot to put the chords at the top of the first 4 bars here of this one, or of this example, and I should have. So D, A, B minor, F sharp minor, G major, D major, back to G major, back to A major. Okay. So in that last bar, okay, we're playing basically the same approach on the G chord as we did in the previous bar. And then for the A chord, you want to get that high note of the melody is going to be the second fret of the B. So you're picking the root and the second fret of the B at the same time there. Make sense? Right? But very sort of straight ahead, all eighth notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and pulse to this whole thing. Make sense? You with me? All right, exercise 3. Let's see, upping it a little bit more here, just by changing the direction of the finger picking a little bit. So instead of, kind of seem to always be going in one direction, here we're going to kind of, okay. So I've got D string with the thumb, and then I'm going to pluck with the middle finger, high string, and then once again with the thumb, moving it down to the G string, second fret, and then first finger on the third fret of the B string. So, what's up, Wide Glide? Welcome. Okay, so again, stay on that chord and just work on this pattern and get it nice and burned in a little bit before you start to change the chords. Here, okay. Now it's going to go to a C chord. So here you have some choices because, on the D chord, we've got 4 strings, so it works out nicely which fingers and where everything goes. But as soon as you open that up to 5 strings in the chord, or 5 notes in the chord, right, you have some choices. In this case, I stay on that C chord, A string with the thumb, high string, and then thumb on the D string, open G string next. So repeat that again. As you'll see in the next chord change, when I go to G, and this time I'm just going third fret of the low string, second fret of the A string, third fret of the B string, not using the high E string here. You see in the same bar, I'm changing the string sets of the last 2 notes of the pattern. So starting with A string, D string, and then back to low string, B string, but then going D string, G string. Okay, do you see that in bars 3 and 4 of exercise 3? Yes, Peter, the finger reminds me of Landslide a little bit. Different strings, chords, string skipping, all that kind of stuff. James, what's up? Welcome, James. Glad you made it. Absolutely, right? So let's try and put this one together. This is exercise 3. Going to play it through. One more time. Here we go. Didn't quite get it. What's up, Theodore? All right, one more time. I got the red light fever tonight, folks. The red light fever. The streaming button is live, and I'm choking at every opportunity, right? So I hope you see what's going on there. Those last 2 bars on the G chord. Okay, just switching up the string sets there on the last couple. Okay. All right. You with me? There you go, Jake 99, Sweet Home Alabama, right? Try and get it up there. pull it out of tune. Nope. I think we're good. All right, exercise 4. Another sort of idea here where, let's see, we're going to get the ring finger involved again and also move that thumb, okay? So we've got fingers on the top 3, okay? And on the 5th and 4th string, I'm using the thumb in this case. So we're actually going to start on a C sus2 chord, 3rd fret of the A, 3rd fret of the B string. Everything else is open. We're not using the low string, okay? And let's see what we got here. So now we're heading up with the fingers, top 3 strings, back down, and then grabbing the thumb on the 4th string and just one more pluck on the G string to make it a cool pattern that rounds out the whole bar, right? Because we've got 8 eighth notes in a bar, so we got to do 8 plucks. Now we're going to descend down. I'm just going to move from the 3rd to the 2nd fret of the A string. And then I'm going to grab the A7 sus4. So I'm going to move that index finger to the 2nd fret of the D string. And then in the last bar, I'm going to shift so that I've got the 2nd fret of the B string, still holding the 2nd fret of the D string. So when I put it together, one more time. I moved it again. Hold on. That's the one you're going for, okay? Cool, cool. Still with me. Red light fever tonight. It's live. Hey, that's cool. Gordon Lightfoot, man. He's the man. I like that. Cool. All right. So we're going to start to up the ante a little bit, start adding some expressive things, a little more embellishment here. This next exercise, exercise 5, is a cool little example of getting some pull-offs, adding those in, okay? So in this particular one, I'm just going to keep my thumb on the D string. And I've got fingers 1, 2, and 3 on the top 3 strings. And on the top string, I'm going to pull off with my index finger to the open high string. Okay? One more time, really slow. With me. So what are we playing with? We've got a D triad up here. D, F sharp, A. So that's the 7th fret of the G, 7th fret of the B, 5th fret of the high string. Okay. And with that pull off, it kind of makes it, sort of a add 9 sound, right? And I'm going to take that same idea and just slide it down 2 frets. Okay, now you've got this different sort of sound on the C, so C triad now against still an open D root, right? And just the sound of that 3rd fret going to the open E gives it a totally different sound, right? Once again, come down to the 1st and 3rd fret. Okay? Gets a very minorish sort of sound there. And then I'm just going to resolve it on the D major. And instead of pulling off to the open string, this time I'm going to add my pinky onto the D chord, pull off to the 2nd fret. Okay, great practice here for just injecting these pull-offs in here. So let's see here. Scott's got a question. If one is unable to use the thumb, do you recommend a quick pluck at the 6th string and move quickly back to the shape? Which are we talking about? The previous example? The thumb, do you recognize a quick pluck at the 6th string, move quickly back to the shape? Annie using the thumb. Yeah. So that's tough. Like, I'm not like a big thumb player. I'm assuming you're talking about getting the thumb over top and then doing stuff. If, you know, I haven't developed that technique personally. I try to avoid that, although sometimes, you know, it does feel comfortable enough to kind of use it for certain musical things. But if there's any way that you can hold the note with a finger and then do stuff up top, right? That's sort of the way to go with it. But some, you know, depending on what you're playing, sometimes you're unable to do that. And the only option is to go with the thumb, right? So, Glenn, what's up? All good. Thanks for popping in. So Scott, what I would say is, you know, probably a quick pluck at the 6th string and move quickly back to the shape might work, but if it sort of interrupts the timing, or if it sounds a little bit weird, like if you kind of hit the note and then you have to abandon the note, where it would be ideal if the note kind of rung out a little bit, then I would try to find an alternate way to make that happen, or try to make a variation to whatever you're trying to do to accommodate it sounding good versus I need to hit these notes. All right. Because a lot of times you can make a variation to what you're playing musically, or an adjustment to what you're playing, where maybe it just means that you're going to grab one less string up top, or one less note up top. But if you have that low note ringing out and filling it out, it's probably going to sound better than if you abandon that note and kind of just grab some stuff up top. And, you know, it comes down to a musical sort of judgment call on your part. So that's a long-winded answer to say sort of it kind of depends. Okay. So hopefully that helped a little bit. All right, back to exercise 5. Just going to run through this with the pull-off. And once again, you can just work on that. You know, if you're new to kind of getting a clean pull-off, just go that far and sort of practice it over and over, and just see if you can get that nice and okay. So the whole exercise put together, it sounds like this. Okay. That's exercise 5, by the way. Laura, any opinions on fingernail shaping? Unfortunately, it's not anything I've ever attempted to do in my my whole time playing guitar. I've never really grown my nails to try that out. I've kind of steered away of that kind of stuff. So I would not be the one to ask on an opinion on the fingernail shaping. Once again, probably some experimentation is in order, just to try out and see what feels the most natural to you and what sounds the best to you. If anybody else on here tonight can chime in on the comments, having had any of that kind of experience, that would be much appreciated, because I'm sorry, I've just never done that kind of stuff. And they do break, right? You hear a lot about guitar. I remember being in music college and guitar college, and they would do the press-on nails. Guitar players would do the acrylic, which I never did. But there you go. Yes, they do break. And then what do? You got to wait for them to grow out, right? So your mileage may vary. Great for flamenco, right? This kind of thing. I'm not a good example of that. So please do not look at that too hard. There you go. There you go. It's flat picking till they grow back. Exactly. You're kind of stuck, right? Exercise 6, I'm going to sparse it up a little bit and, kind of, I think this one might be better to kind of play through a little bit. Look at that. The Black Mountain Spring Loaded Pick works better than nails. Look at that, Peter. I'm going to have to check that out. It sounds very interesting. A spring-loaded pick. Wow. Pretty cool. I'm assuming that's somewhat a thumb pick, or you can maybe do it for all fingers. Sounds very interesting. There you go. Check it out. Black Mountain. Exercise 6. Exercise 6. All right. Playing off an A chord. Oh. I did not say that. Did I just say exercise 6? I did not say that. No, you'll have to rewind and verify that. No, I did not say that. Okay. I said exercise 6. I definitely did not say exercise 6. All right. One more time through on this example 6, and then we'll talk about it. Yes. Okay, let's break it down. So playing off an A chord. Okay, I'm actually going to drag the thumb down. Okay, to the D string, and then pluck the G string, and then with the middle finger, quick little hammer-on pull-off. 2nd, 3rd, back to the 2nd fret. So even just, you just want to try and get that nice and smooth. Okay, back down to the 2nd fret, and then just the 5th fret of the B string with your pinky. Right after that, so you want to try and keep everything ringing out up top, and then grab the 4th fret while you're still holding on to the A chord, okay? Because you want to do this pull off, 3rd fret to the 2nd fret of the B string. That's sort of how the melody goes, right? Okay, so you're holding out that E note and then hitting the 4th fret of the low string. That sort of outlines an E major with major 3rd in the bass, right? Now you're going to go to the 3rd fret of the low string. Okay, once again, another 2nd to 3rd fret, back to the 2nd fret. Now I'm going to bar down at the 2nd fret. Now I'm come down to the 2nd fret, and I'm barring all the way, right? F sharp note, 2nd fret of the B string, and then a pull off 4 to 2 on the G string. Then I'm going to get into a shape for the F bar chord, but without the top 2 strings fretted, okay? So it's 1st fret of the low, 3rd fret of the A and D, 2nd fret of the G. There's a pickup thumb right at the end of that bar. And then I've got the ring finger, middle finger, 1st finger on the B string, G string, and D string. Yeah, these are a little bit tough stretches, and definitely sort of bar chord needing a little bit of juice here to get some of these fingerings on this one. So I totally get that, Laura. Moving to the electric to make it a little easier. Okay, so that's a cool, when you're hitting that B and then to the second. Okay, and now it's just getting into a flow, straight eighth notes here, root, and then G string, D string, A string. And then you're going to do a quick slide up, same shape up to G. And just repeat it, right? By the way, that's actually a Tesla riff. If anyone's into Tesla, Nicky the dog, that's off the Bust a Note record, a song called Wonderful World, which actually the previous example was from that same song too. But great stuff in there, right? So couldn't resist throwing it in tonight to the session. So there you go. Cool stuff. We'll switch to blues here. Last couple. All right. So so this first 2-bar example is a little bit of a riff. Let me play through it, and then we'll talk about it a little bit. Okay? So. That's the idea with this one. So I'm playing out of open A string, barring down on the 5th fret of the D, G, and B, and adding the 6th fret of the G. This gives you an A7 pretty much. Now, if you actually went to the full bar chord, okay, the full major bar chord, root 6. The cool thing about the key of A for a blues is that you've got the open A string, so you kind of play, use that to your advantage, right? So now I've just got 3 notes that I'm plucking out of A7 right there. Okay. Now sliding up and getting these 6th intervals, which are a very common embellishment. Sounds a little bit like a blues turnaround, right? With that chromatic. So in groups of 3, right? I'm sliding up to the 9th fret of the G, also getting the top E string, right? Thumb, high string pluck, thumb. And just moving down 1 fret at a time, each group of 3, right? So. Okay, back down to the chord, strum with your thumb, right? Now, while I'm holding down that chord, I'm going to add the ring finger to the 7th fret of the B, finger pick that, then the pinky 8th fret of the B, then back down to 7, and then back to back to repeat it, right? So one more time through this. Now, cool little embellishment, speaking of hammer-ons that we were doing previously, right, is to do, this shape sounds great with the quick hammer-on 5 to 6 on the G string. So you're barring down on 5. And if you just, right after the strum, just hammer that on, it sounds really nice and really bluesy, right? So that's not in the tab, but highly recommended if you can swing it, okay? And then I just thought I'd show you the 4-chord idea if you wanted to turn this into a 12-bar blues to kind of play through all the way. I'm going to grab a D7, D dominant 7th chord, voicing 5th fret, of the A string, 4th fret of the D, 5th fret of the G string, and then the 3rd fret of the B string. Same thing sort of with just a thumb brush stroke, right? And now I've got sort of, these aren't the exact same notes that are sort of transposed to the next chord, but it is the same riff, but it's sort of a different set of notes, so it gives a little bit of a different sound. Okay, so it's the exact same riff played down on the 5th, 4th, and 3rd fret. But in this case, yeah, it does have a little bit of that piano sound to it, right? Check this out, just a little tangent here, okay? So I'm going to go back up to the A chord. When I go up to the 9th fret and come down in that shape, where does it resolve? It resolves at the 6th fret of the G, 5th fret of the high string, okay? You can hear that, right? Okay, even though I'm going to this chord, you know, you could also go to that and resolve. In the case of the D chord, it's resolving into a different shape. It's the same shape. We end up outlining the D chord in the open position. 2nd fret of the G, 2nd fret of the high string, right? If we were to play the same thing, right, it would have to be up here for the D chord. Do you see what I'm getting at here? So I could have went, but okay, you've got sort of a different set of notes here, which I thought was cool. So this is sort of optional, right? You could go to 2, 1, and open to go to the D7, or and then on the second bar of this, which would be the 4 chord on this, right? I'm just simply finger picking the notes in the chord on the top 3 notes of the chord. Okay. Theodore's asking, change into a 12-bar blues. Yes, so you can use these ideas to play a 12-bar blues. Okay, right? So I've shown you the 1 chord and the 4 chord. The 5 chord would just be 2 frets up. So you could do the E7 up here and either go, or you could do 4, 3, 2, right? You could also use that open low E string to thicken it up if you want. Or experiment with an E7 in open position, right? Something like that, right? It's kind of wide open. Make sense? All right, a couple of minutes left. Thought I'd show you a little takeoff on CCR for the last thing. You know, we usually do some sort of a Travis picking. I'm not exactly sure that this is traditionally Travis picking, but it definitely has that vibe. But I didn't call it Travis picking, even though it's a little bit challenging because you've got that thumb holding the quarter notes, and then you've got some eighth notes plucks in between. So let me see if I can do this first part of this. The first 4 bars sound like this. Okay. Playing off an open E chord, so you want to grab, even though you don't see it in the tab, you want to grab the full open E chord here, okay? Now the next thing you've got this E pulse going. This is right on the beat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. On the second beat, that's the only time that you hit a pluck and a thumb at the same time. It happens to be the open top string. And then you've got a thumb and then plucking the second fret of the G on the in between, right, on the and by the way, this is swung, so that and is a little bit closer, you know, instead of 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, we've got a swing 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, right? Okay, so and then after the, you know, right after the second fret, you go back to that thumb, and then you're going to pluck the open string. But when you hammer on, you're going to hammer on at the exact same time at the top of the next bar that you hit the thumb again. Okay, so that's a little tricky. You want to go really slow with this. Like that. Just try that first, that first bar. Okay, and then add a note at a time. So the next open top string happens right after that. So then it's back to the thumb, and now you're alternating in the second bar. Oh. Okay. It's a little bit tricky. Up to speed. I mean, Bad Moon Rising is pretty fast, you know. Okay. Hybrid picked. Well, Bad Moon Rising, you know, I'm doing it all finger picking. Bad Moon Rising, because there's a lot of strumming, he uses the pick, right? So it's a little more aggressive. You know, that kind of thing. Okay. That's using that. So I've sort of adapted it a little bit. Okay. So yeah, so you want to go slow with that. I adapted it for the thumb, which is a little bit different. And then you know, there's another part of the song here that has some pretty cool embellishments on it that I sort of, it's not exactly like what's going on in the song, but sort of the same idea. So going up to the A chord. Okay, so but some cool finger picking, like sliding up to this D shape, but up in the 9th fret. Okay. And then 12th fret on the high string, back to the G string 9th fret, and then 9th fret. Pluck, and then a thumb again back on the 9th fret of the G, and then sliding back down to the next chord. So. Okay. One more time on the second part of this, doing the A chord to the E chord to the 5 chord, which is the B7, right? Definitely has that country-ish kind of vibe for sure, Robin. Yes, definitely a Scotty Moore kind of thing, right? That's all right, mama. Definitely kind of sounds like that. All right, lots to chew on here on this one. Kind of up the ante on the last couple examples, all right? So cool. As always, thanks so much for your comments, your questions, for hanging out on Fridays. Saturday mornings elsewhere in the world. I appreciate you guys tuning in. All right. Have a great weekend. Have a great into next week. We'll be back same time next week on the electric again. So take care, everybody. Hope you have a great weekend and a great week. All right. Thanks so much, everybody, for the kind words. Let's see. Russ, Peter, Theodore, Danny, King 50, Zane, TC, Laura, thank you. Robin, thank you. Rusty, my man, Jersey Red, thank you. Gerald, thanks. Jake 99, Scott, Alonzo, Jim Gregory, Nikki the dog, Rad Flying V, and Rui. Thanks so much. Take care, everybody. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Steve. Take care. We'll see you. Cheers.